that motherfucker on the street. Anyway, Walt's Take America's Pulse, July 8th, 2010. The fun begins. We're going to talk about Whale Wars. And this is a TV show. It is a 1 hour weekly American documentary style reality TV show. It's a series that premiered on November 7th, 2008. I always say 2010 and I can get mixed up. 2008. And it was on Animal Planet. Still is. The program, it follows Paul Watson. He's a founder of Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. You know, and it's about him and his crew aboard various vessels attempting to deter Japanese whaling off the coast mainly of Antarctica. The third season premiered on June 4th, 2010. It got really good too, the last season. In 2007, Paul Watson persuaded the Discovery Channel to make a reality show documentary about the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and their campaign against Japanese whaling in the Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary off the coast of Antarctica. Now the Japanese whaling companies, they claim that the whaling is legally accepted research, which the Sea Shepherd and others contend is a cover for banned commercial whaling. The Sea Shepherd has been both criticized and praised for tactics of direct action and sabotage, which would include throwing stink bombs, butyric acid, as well as ramming, boarding, and otherwise attempting to disable the Japanese vessels. Now on January 15, 2008, after attempting to entangle the whaling vessel's propeller and throwing containers of butyric acid on the decks, this is what they do. They try to fuck up the operation, slow it down. And I'll tell you what Walt's take will tell you, you know, you'll get my take, what the fuck I would do. They throw butyric acid on the decks. One time, two Sea Shepherd members, Benjamin Potts and Gilles Lane, from the Sea Shepherd vessel MV Steve Irwin. You know, the guy that passed away, got hit by that stingray. They named it after him. Two of the guys boarded the Japanese whaling vessel, the Yushin Maru No. 2, from a rigid-hulled inflatable boat. Now, the pair were delivering a letter advising the Japanese that they were whaling illegally with the hope of creating an international incident. Now, the Japanese responded by saying that the men would be held until Sea Shepherd stopped what they called dangerous and illegal activities. The Japanese claim that their whaling is legally accepted research, which the Sea Shepherd and others contend is a cover for banned commercial whaling. You'll get my take. The International Whaling Commission issued a statement on March 8th, 2008 that called upon the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society to refrain from dangerous actions that jeopardize safety at sea and on vessels, and crews concerned to exercise restraint. By the way, Iceland, Japan, and Norwegian peoples do most of the whaling in the world. And America, we used to do it. Everybody does it, you know, until you depleted the fucking whales completely. In season 2, on February 6, 2009, Watson reported that the Steve Irwin had collided with the Yushin Maru 2 as the Steve Irwin tried to block its attempt to prevent the transfer of a dead whale up the slipway of the factory ship Nishin Maru, which is the first one. The Nishin Maru 2 is the one they hit. And he said, I quote, "We are in the process of blocking the transfer from Nishin Maru 2 when the Yushin Maru 1 moved directly in front of the bow to block us. He says, I cannot turn to starboard, which is to the left, without hitting the Yushin Maru 1. I tried to back down, but the movement of the Yushin Maru 2 made the collision unavoidable. The Japanese whalers blamed Sea Shepherd for the crash, characterizing the incident as deliberate ramming," which I don't give a fuck. Sink the motherfucker. The collision was filmed by the cameramen for Whale Wars reality series and formed part of the multi-day conflict during the Sea Shepherd attempted to prevent the Japanese fleet from harpooning whales, respectively tried to block whales from being transferred to the factory ship for processing by blockading the Japanese vessel's slipway. Now, the Japanese, on top of doing all this illegal whaling under the guise of legal research, they use a lot of deterrents to the Sea Shepherds. They use LRADs. They're called long-range acoustic devices. And this is used for crowd control over most Europe and America. It's a very loud it's a box that they post on the bow of a ship. They use them on Hummers in New York City as an example for crowd control. Like you got a maniac crowd, they're going crazy. They turn this motherfucker on and it makes you lose your hearing. And anyway, let's explain it. They use the LRAS, the long-range acoustic device, to deter Sea Shepherd. The equipment weighs about 45 pounds and can emit sound in a 30-degree beam at high frequency, 2.5 kHz. Now, I should have been able to tell you what that is. It's a loud motherfucking device. At maximum level, it can emit a warning tone that is 146 decibel in SPL. Now, that's 1,000. It's hard to explain that to the lay, and that's most of my people are lay with this situation, so I just gotta break it down to you. It's a loud motherfucker. It disorients you, you lose your hearing and your vision, actually. The maximum usable design range extends about 300 meters. The warning tone is less than 90 decibels. The device was originally intended to be used by American warships to warn incoming vessels approaching without permission, and some reports claim that it is now a non-lethal weapon. Its output of 155 decibels, focused at a distance, is sufficient to produce permanent ear damage and temporarily disrupt vision. It may also be used simply as a very effective megaphone. Prior to any use as a weapon, it was used as crowd control, like I said. Now, they were also accused of aiming the device at Steve Irwin's helicopter while in flight, something the group is especially condemning, seeing that the helicopter was only engaged in filming and could have crashed if the pilot lost control. So they have, on the Steve Irwin, they have a little hangar where they bring out a chopper. You know, they put it together right quick, and it goes out there and it's a recon. It goes out there and sees where the fleet is. And the Japanese vessels, they have several, vessels out there making sure that the Sea Shepherds are out there. And when one of them spots them, they move the fleet so they don't be bothered while they murder all these whales. Now, along with the LRADs, the Japanese fleets use power water hoses and also flashbang devices. Now, the Sea Shepherds have a small fleet, the Steve Irwin, they named that one after the great conservationist, They added the Addie Gill. The Addie Gill is a futuristic styled ship that held the world record for circumnavigation of the globe by motorized vehicle. The eco-friendly vessel usually ran on a low-emission fuel, derived mainly from animal fat, soybeans, and other forms of biodiesel. But this vessel, the Addie Gill, the one they use for these purposes, they use the more polluting petroleum diesel. So anyway, like I said, they have the Steve Irwin, that's their main ship. Then they have the Addie Gill. This is it's a quick speedboat that they use for quick missions. It's a fast small boat. And they also have the new one, it's the Bob Barker. You know what he is, the famous for The Price is Right, and one of the best known personalities in the world of animal activism. He donated funds to purchase a third vessel to add to the fleet. Ironically, the ship is a former Norwegian whaling vessel, but has since been renamed and refitted. With a crew of 26 and led by Captain Chuck Swift and First Officer Whale Wars veteran Peter Hammerstead, the Bob Barker was docked off the coast of Africa on the island nation of the Republic of Mauritius until it was ready to join its Sea Shepherd colleagues and engage in a surprise engagement to stop whaling. On the original ship, they also have a small recon helicopter. The Japanese whalers deploy water cannons, and they have a fleet of ships, like I said, to look out for the Sea Shepherd so they can do their damage.